Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Tuesday live streams where we talk about photography and answer any questions you might have, and also catch up on see what's new, what we've been up to, and I'm always happy to see everyone here. Um, I see Barry's here, David. Hi, David. How are you? John Yutse, Valdez, Serge, John Paulos, Marco. Awesome. Jeff Painter, Music Sound Gear. Welcome. Robert. Hi. I think you're in my photo club, right? Or not mine, but David's photo club. Um, uh, that's awesome. Yeah, so it's been a couple weeks since I was in a live stream. Hey, Andrew, how are you? And Andreas, good to see you. Uh, Basically, what happened is I've been getting photo jobs, and I just haven't had time to do the live streams. So that's a good thing, right? uh, Hopefully, more will come, and I'll try and do the live streams. As often, at least once a week when I can, and I try to do them on Tuesdays. But yeah, believe it or not, I talked about last month how I got the photo shoot a laundromat. I got three more photo photo jobs for the laundromat after that. I guess somebody liked what they saw and gave me a call. It was actually a referral, but uh, and for those of you that saw the photos or the vlog that I did for that last laundromat, the ones I did last week or the week, I can't remember. It's been 2 weeks now, but they were about twice the size as the one I was at. I mean, they were huge, like 7,000 square feet. And they had 150 machines, and they had an arcade, and massage chairs. I mean, it was pretty decked out for a laundromat. I'd show you pictures and video that I did for the client, but it hasn't been released yet publicly, so I have to kind of wait uh, and see if that happens. Um, so just the whole non-disclosure thing, right? But I can tell you, about the job itself. It was challenging, because laundromats. I mean, I do commercial properties and big spaces, but these laundromats were open like 24/7, so I had to um, go there while people were doing their laundry. And I tried to pick a time, like I picked a Monday, middle of the day, where I would hope that it would be the least busy. But then what I had working against me was it was November 1st. It was the first of the month on a Monday. That's a busy day for laundry. So it was pretty busy. So I had a hard time going around uh, getting shots and not trying not to get people in it. With the photography side, I was able to kind of, time it, push, you click the shutter button when they walk out of the frame and you get the shot. But when I was doing the video, I didn't have that option. So um, in the videos that I did, I had to, block out the people's faces. So I had to learn a new technique because I've never had to do that before, about how to block people's faces and track them as they're moving. It's not hard, DaVinci Resolve does that, but it's still another step. So that's what's really great about, I wouldn't call being forced to do something, but when you're getting new jobs or new kinds of jobs, you have to learn new things, whether it's in photography or in video. Like another technique I tried that didn't really work out too well, because the front of the laundromats, they just have the big glass, right? And there's lots of sun coming in, and it's very, very bright in the front. And then when you get to the back, it's very dark, relatively speaking. I mean, it was probably 4 stops difference at least between the front to the back of this laundromat because it was so big. Because you just have your natural fluorescent lighting in the back, but then you have the sun coming in, and it was morning sun. I started early. coming in the front. So dealing with the dynamic range in both the video and the photography was very, very challenging. I mean, fortunately, the pictures and everything came out pretty good, and the client was very happy. They thought they were great. So that was kind of relief. I'm always a little bit nervous with a new client, and this was a new client. But he liked it, so that's good, and more jobs to come. I just did one yesterday for a current client, and that was very spur of the moment. I was tutoring somebody, and I got a phone call, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, I have to take this call. So I took the call, and I had to be somewhere in 2 hours. It was like, oh, which normally is not a big deal, but I had to, I was with the client at their property, so I had to drive back to my house 30 miles away and then drive out to the site, which was 30 some miles back. Uh, and in Northern Virginia traffic, man, that's really rolling the dice. If you have to go travel 60 miles within 2 hours, that's pretty risky. But I got there 5 minutes early, just made it. And because the job was so short notice, none of my batteries were charged in my flashes or in my camera. I had one charged up battery for my camera, but I always like to bring a backup, right? Just in case. I've never had to change a battery on a shoot in my EM1 Mark III. And, and I'll shoot a lot. I could shoot all day on one battery with that EM1. But the flashes, I don't know. I wasn't confident that, because I don't have any extras for my flashes. They're lithium ions, proprietaries that come with the flashes. And and they were dead. I mean, they were dead from the last shoot, that I did. So I packed up all these chargers in my car and plugged them in, and I got the AC to cigarette lighter adapter transformer thing, and I was charging everything on the way to the job. And fortunately, I made it through because it was just one job, and that I ended up taking I don't know, it's all bracketed, so it's a little deceiving. It was like 200 and some shots, but they're bracketed, right? So it was really, I think it was 43 pictures for this property I did yesterday. And I finished editing this morning. Took me about an hour and a half to edit all the pictures. I can show you a couple of those because I know those will go public. It was actually an office space, 9,000 square feet, but it was just a big open space, right? And let me see. Let's see if I can remember what buttons to push anymore. Yeah, this one, right? And then, where's it? That's my stream software. Here it is. So this is my working folder. But it was very simple, right? It was basically a vacant office, and they had this huge conference room. So a lot of the spaces were, just big open spaces. So I didn't have to take a lot of pictures. Like a conference room like this, I'm just going to take 2 pictures. There's one. There's another one in there. And then a few offices, a little sitting area, another office, copy room. Yeah, this is the other angle. So I just got 2 angles of the conference room. I mean, how many different ways do you need to see the same thing, right? And this was the lobby, the entrance lobby. Another conference room. And what's really interesting about this room is the white wall on the back is actually painted like uh, in a super glossy white, and they use dry markers and just write on the wall. I was like, man, that's pretty clever. I might do that here. Just paint this like uh, a high gloss, and then I can do notes and things if I ever want to do tutorials again online instead of using my. I got this tablet that I can draw on, but that's a little awkward. Uh, working with the little pen tablet. Whereas if I just had a dry marker, I could just just work. But anyway, that was kind of neat. I had this beautiful kitchen, networking gear. Another shot of the kitchen. So two angles of the kitchen. Like in residential properties, you want to take like 4 or 5 pictures of the kitchen if it's a nice big kitchen. But commercial property, I just do 2 angles. And this was the cubicle area, the hallway, another angle of the cubicle area. And these shots here, I didn't even bother to use flash because it was so big, this area. Technically what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to use a flash and go around the entire area and illuminate the entire area with flash. So I would have to take probably about a dozen flash images and then blend. I said, I'm not doing that. I just did an HDR. And then in Photoshop, I went in and I just drew some lines and masked out the back area. So it's not like a standard HDR where you just blend the bracketed images together. I bracketed 5 to 7 shots, and then I picked 2 or 3 of them and then manually blended them in Photoshop myself. Because if you just rely on the Lightroom HDR, it's not going to come out very good. So I just do it manually, like this one. And this is the front of the building. But here's the side angle, and they were on the second. No, they were on the. I think they were on this floor. Yeah. So this is actually the 5th floor. I don't know why. But they took up this entire floor. Half. The front half of the building, this entire floor was their property. That was about 9,000 square feet. I'm sorry, this floor right here. And anywho, that's the lobby. So nice Class A building, another office space. But let me get back to my things. Let me check the chat window. Yes, John, that's why. Hold on, wrong button. Here we go. This is how I do it, right? Yeah, so that's basically why I've been kind of, because I've had at least 5 jobs in the last 2 weeks. That's a lot for me. I'm happy to do it, but man, I was exhausted. Once the images go public and listed publicly, I'll talk a little bit more about the laundromat job, because I did run into other challenges while I was there. That's hard to talk about if you can't see the pictures, really. And the question is here. I saw the photos on Flickr where you used a full frame Panasonic. Yeah, my S5. Did you use an adapted lens? Yes. I did use adapted lenses on the. I can't remember which ones. Um, let me take a. Can you guys see me now? I accidentally closed the window. Um, okay, sorry about that. So I was. Could you even hear me? You probably couldn't hear me either, right? Um, I closed the window by accident. Dang it. Well, anyway, I was shooting with the 200 millimeter f4 Nikon AI glass and the 35 millimeter uh, Zeiss Distagon. So it was actually, I'll just go through this real quick because this is probably where you lost me. This was the Panasonic S5 with the 200 millimeter f4, and it's an old Nikon AI glass. I paid like $100 for it. This is the 200 millimeter. This one is the 200 millimeter f4 on my Panasonic S5. This is the 35 millimeter Zeiss Distagon, this lens here on the Panasonic S5. And this was the kit lens with the Panasonic. That was a kit lens. The kit lens is the 20 to 60. And this is actually the Olympus TG5, but this is a bracketed shot. I didn't capture this in one image. And like I was saying, there's no way you're going to capture the dynamic range of a sunrise or sunset with any camera. You pretty much have to bracket. So if you bracket, you can get great shots. I mean, it's and of course I processed it with Photolab 4 Elite, which has the DxO primes, and that I have not found. Lightroom doesn't even come close to matching what I can do in DxO in terms of output of single images. Yeah, I was talking the whole time. Sorry about that. Let me go back. I thought I saw another question up here. What is this? Barry says pancake kit lens on my EM10 Mark II has failed twice in 4.5 years. Software failed, wouldn't open. First time 2 years ago, repaired under warranty. Now failed again. And yeah, that lens, that I hate to call it a common problem, but I do hear it, time to time, and it's happened to me. And I don't think it's software. I think there's you know how that lens opens and closes every time you turn the camera on and off? I think the ribbon cable inside either breaks or works itself loose, and that's why it stops working. Is my guess. And yeah, somebody got theirs done for like $83, not last year or whenever. Someone told me they got it done for $83 fixed. I don't know. So I switched over to the manual zoom version, and that's been working fine. I did happen to buy another Pancake power zoom one, but yeah, I think it's a common problem. I've heard it often enough now that I might say it's kind of common now. And Rick says we had a meeting room with white painted walls and Sun microsystem was used for analysis and that, but the best way was how they cleaned up. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. And I think I got them all. All the messages. When did that start? Started right around 10:22, and I didn't get back on until 10:26. So 4 minutes of just blue screen or something, right? But at least now I know how to get back if I ever do that again. Did you see the presentation of the new 20 millimeter? Oh, I watched a little bit of one of them. There's like 3 or 4 of them out there. It's tempting. I kind of like Peter Forsgaard's review of it, the second one when he actually had the lens, and he said it could replace the 17 and the 25. And I thought that was kind of an interesting idea. Um, because 25 is not wide enough for me and 17 seems just right. But if I can get rid of both those lenses and just have the one, the 20 millimeter f4, weather sealed, pro glass optics, all of that, yada yada, and 1.4, I'm considering doing that. And I think the lens was what, $6.99 or $8.99? I can't remember how much it was. It was still a little on the pricey side. So I might wait because I need to get I want to get the 8 to 25 f4 before I get the 20 millimeter f1.4. And I think we've kind of gone past any special deals that they might have this year on anything anymore. So I might have to wait till next year, like in the spring, when they start doing big deals again. And that by that time the lenses would have been out for at least a little while, especially the 8 to 25, because I'm still using the Panasonic 7 to 14. I was using the 8 millimeter fisheye for a little while for my real estate photography, but honestly, I got kind of tired of doing the fisheye correction. Um, now that I have Photolab 4, though, but in the field, I have to look at everything fisheye, and I push a button to see the corrected version. It was it was kind of slowing me down. It was a little awkward to work with the 8 millimeter fisheye, although it wasn't bad. But it was just kind of one more thing that I don't need. So I went back to my Panasonic 7 to 14. But the problem with that lens is it has terrible flaring when the light hits it the wrong way, which is really hard to fix in post. Um, so I've had to kind of go back to fixing things in post a little bit because of the flaring. Even on this job I did yesterday, I did 43, basically 43 shots, and one or two of them had the flaring. And I ended up not using those pictures because I took a lot more, right, than I needed. So I didn't have to worry about fixing it. But I was like, if this was a picture I really needed to have for the client, this would be a problem, this flaring. And back to the 20 millimeter f1.4, Robin Wong's video about how the timing and the announcement and all that, that was bad on Olympus OMS's part, right? OM Systems, I should say. They should have put those two things together. I agree with Robin. And he also pointed out that that lens really could be a great street photography lens, but OM Systems is not pushing street photography at all, right? Or any other genres other than wildlife or outdoor type stuff. So it's a little bit, I mean, I get it. You got to target and have a niche market, but that's a little bit too niche. I think just the fact that you're a photographer and want to use a real camera makes you pretty niche already. You're not like the general population. So if you're a photographer with a real camera, you're pretty much niche, and it's focused on all the different genres that a photographer might be interested in. And there's a lot of genres, not just landscape, wildlife, that kind of thing, but street photography, macro photography, product photography, all kinds of photography, portrait, right? Um, but they're not really touching any of those other genres. So Robin made a lot of good points on that video. And I watched Jimmy Chang's also. Well, I can't remember. I think, and he was first too, so that's why I saw that way long ago. I can't remember now. But Jimmy's or Robbins and Peters, I just watched the other day. That's why I can remember it. Okay. I will tell you that one of the someone there was flirting with me. um, it's just I'm not used to that. Someone flirting with me. Um, I just told him you're crazy. I got to work. Anyhow, is there a car charger for a limit? No, I just use the generic USB, chargers for the batteries. So what I do is I buy USB chargers, and then I just have the USB adapter in my car. And what Robert's saying here is use one of those AC inverters that connects to the cigarette lighter or power outlet. I guess they don't call them cigarette lighters anymore. The power outlets. It's in my car, the power outlet, but the USB thing. This is a typical USB charger, right? Where it just has a USB thing, and you plug it into your car. And this holds two batteries. This is actually for my Nikon. My client that I tutor shoots Nikon, so I was charging up my Nikon battery so I could remember where everything was. It's been a while since I fired that thing up. Um, but if buying an DC inverter is sort of it's just awkward because you got to plug that in, then you plug in your wall charger into that. It just takes up a lot of room. I mean, if you only have one camera, I guess it's not that big a deal. But buying a $10 or $15 USB charger is cheaper than buying, say, $100 inverter. So this is a little more economical way to go. And if you spend $20, they'll give you a couple of generic batteries too, right? They're not worth anything, but it's fine to get a few extra shots if your main battery goes dead. Um, and then Rick is asking, didn't I write a script? I did. I did have a preset in Lightroom that I would click for my 8mm fisheye lens. So it didn't really add a lot of extra work in post, but it was one more step in post processing. But it was also, like I was saying, in the field, I had a button assigned to. I assigned the button to show me the corrected view when I was framing the shot, and it was just awkward because I use three modes when I'm doing my commercial photography. I have my bracketed shot, which is usually just plus or minus two stops. So I do three shots plus or minus two. And then the second one is for my flash, which is all full manual. So I have C1 set up for HDR or bracketed. I have C2 set up for flash, which is full manual. So I set my shutter to 1/250th, my aperture at f/6, and my focus point to the top right thirds, because typically that's about 1/3 of the way in the frame. And then C3 I have set up just to take a custom timer where it takes 7 shot or 6 shots, 6 or 7, I can't remember, but I have it set to take 6 or 7 shots, every half second, because when I'm outside and I want to get exterior shots of the property, the camera's on the tripod, but I'll close the legs on the tripod and hold it up over my head, and then I'll just let the camera fire off 6 or 7 shots while I try to hold it steady. and usually one of them will come out just fine. Because when you're hand holding, if it's windy or anything, the pictures will be crooked or I didn't frame it right. So sometimes I turn the camera a little bit because I can't see the viewfinder over my head. It's just too bright out usually, and it's too far away. So I have all three custom modes set up, and the fourth custom mode I set up for regular photography, whatever I feel like doing. So if I take my EM1 Mark III on a photo walk, C4 is for whatever I want to do that day. But yeah, the main reason I stopped using the 8mm fisheye is because in the field it was just awkward to see the corrected view for framing the shot. And 20mm perfectly fits for photography. People in the background matters. And 17mm renders perspective distortions when you photograph people. A little bit, yeah. And 20mm is tighter, yeah. So really at about, it depends how close you are, right? The perspective distortion happens a lot, is amplified the closer you get to the subject, right? So if this is your camera, right, the closer you get with a wide angle lens, the more distorted everything's going to become. So it really depends on your distance versus the focal length of the lens before you really start to notice the distortion. Because even with the fisheye lens, I haven't even talked about that. This is the TT Artisans. I'm going to do a review on this any day now, unless I get another job photo call. But even this lens, if I were to take pictures of like the mountains from far away, it may not even look distorted, except to the very trained eye, you would see the distortion. But when you take a picture of something up close, you're gonna see all of the distortion. The other thing that you can do to help minimize distortion is always, and I'm very conscious of this, right? Because I'm in real estate. I'm always taking, or architectural photography, right? That's why they have tilt shift lenses and all that fancy pants stuff. But for me, I always make sure the sensor is parallel with the subject, right? So we're all familiar with, tilting, not tilting, but getting your horizon straight, right? That's rotating this way. So I know this is right, but also your pitch and yaw, right? So if your pitch, your yaw, and your whatever this axis is, the horizontal, is completely level with the subject, that minimizes the distortion that you would see in the lens. Because when you start to tilt up or tilt down, yeah, then a straight line gets very bent, like on a fisheye. But on wide angle lenses that are rectilinear, the distortion gets, if there's distortion, things get stretched out more. Even though it's still straight and rectilinear, things get stretched out. So 20mm, you're pretty safe for street photography not to get that perspective distortion, because it's tight enough that you have to stand back far enough from people so that you don't see that distortion. With a 17mm, if you get too close to people, yeah, you're going to see the distortion. 14mm and so on, the wider the angle of the lens, the more distortion you're going to see, because you have to get closer, right, to get any definition in people's faces and things. But with 20mm, you can get fairly close, but if you get really close, you're still going to get distortion even at 20mm. And that's why people like to use the 45mm, aka 85, 90mm equivalent for portrait work, because it forces you to get further back from the subject to frame them properly, thereby reducing any kind of distortions like barrel distortion you might get. Okay. And there's also some logic about how the focal length of the lens, when it matches the diameter of the sensor, You get this sort of natural human eye perspective as well, because the diameter, I think the cross diameter is like 20 millimeters on a micro four thirds. And if you use a 20 millimeter lens, supposedly that gives you the most natural look of our human eye. Um, so there's lots of science to that. I hate to call it science, but there's lots of reasons 20 millimeters really a perfect focal length for street photography, like Stanislav was saying. I wonder if any OM systems is a photographer understands photography. Their accountants, I don't know. They're relying on their visionaries and others to sell the product, but ultimately they they drive the message and the marketing effort, and then they pick and choose people that will best deliver that message for them, right? Um, there was a presentation with a Swedish Ali ambassador. Great. Oh, okay. I didn't see that one. Um, honestly, I started watching it. I don't know which one it was. I think it was the one with the two women in it. There was two women there. I forget their names. Oh my god! I was, I was out like in 10 minutes. I was just so bored. Um, so because it was an hour long presentation, and when it got to the images, I kind of skimmed through those because we've all seen great pictures. I don't need to see more pictures from other people. I want to learn more about the lens, right? And yeah, so that's why I didn't bother to watch any more of these hour-long presentations from OM Systems, because they were just, oh my god, they just bored me. That one bored me to tears. I don't know if the other ones are better, but I just couldn't watch the whole thing. Uh, I'd rather watch Jimmy, Robin, Peter, talk about it, and because they're I know them not personally, but I know them through the channel, and we've obviously we've talked, but and I've seen their work over a long period of time. I know them pretty well relative to these random visionaries they had in the streams or whatever the videos that OM Systems put out, and I was like, oh. I mean, the only thing I learned from the OM Systems stream that I watched was that they didn't put the focus clutch or a function button on the lens, which, those things I don't care about. Robin said he's going to miss it. I think, or Peter, one of them said they don't like that. They'd rather have a focus clutch. I could care less about the focus clutch. I mean, 20 millimeters is fairly wide. You don't really need a focus clutch. But anyway, uh, but they did that to keep the size down, right? I guess it adds size to the lens if you add a function button and a focus clutch, however minuscule. Like if it adds 15 or 20 grams to the lens, I guess they didn't want to do it. And maybe it's better, easier to weather seal and all of that. So, I don't disagree with the rationale that they gave, that they wanted to make the lens as compact as possible. And I'm all for that. I'm all about usability, but I don't manually focus if I have an autofocus lens, right? I don't mind autofocusing, man. I autofocus the hell out of this fisheye. um, when I was using it, but I also, a lot of the shots I just did the hyperfocal distance thing, which was f4 at 4 feet, and everything's in focus. In fact, my my Panasonic, right? S5 that I use for video now. Um, I I do hyperfocal distance because the autofocus on this is just not not usable for the kind of videos that I do, right? Because I'm always moving and panning and stuff uh, in my architectural videos, and I can't trust the autofocus. On my Olympus, autofocus was perfect. I never, not once, had an issue with autofocus, but with this camera, oh my God, I can't use this for autofocus for the kind of work that I do. If I'm vlogging or doing talking head videos, yeah, it's fine. Uh, because the face detect and all that, they put a lot of work into that, and it seems to be fine. But for my architectural stuff, I'm on a gimbal or I'm on a dolly, and I'm moving around constantly, and this thing was all over the place. So I use hyperfocal distance on this as well. So for this one, at 20 millimeters, I have to focus at 6 feet at f5.6. Or what? No, it was f8. I did f8 at 20 millimeters at 6 feet. And that's how I filmed everything. I can show you a quick clip. Because I just started working on the video. Crap. Not that clip. I'm going to try not to lose everybody again. Let me find it. Oh, I closed. I'll pull up my DaVinci Resolve. I'm still editing the video. I just started this morning. Um, this one here, it's coming up. So this is the I've been using this cut page now. I really like this cut page they have, but it's ungraded. This is all I shot this all in Vlog. I didn't make this mistake of shooting in standard profile this time like I did on the laundromat job. But let's see. I did grade the first couple of clips. So just ignore if you see any banding and things like that, because this is this is not the real footage. When I exported this out, I didn't get banding and all of that. But you can see I have to pan a lot, right? And go around and I added this clip twice. I got to edit this. You're just seeing the raw video. And what's really amazing is the image stabilization, everything it's pretty decent on the S5. Like, you probably can't tell, but in this clip, this carpet is not very smooth. And the camera was shaking a lot, but the footage itself came out very, very smooth. Even when I was outside on the sidewalk and on the pavement, that thing was really shaking a lot. But as I panned along, the image stabilization was able to smooth out the footage pretty nicely. But yeah, this is the unedited footage. Other than the clips, I'm still cutting out the clips that I want to use, and then I'll cram this down. I'll edit down to about a 2.5 minute video. Let me see if I can show you guys a clip from outside. That was pretty amazing. Here is, whoops. Now this pavement was really shaky. You can see it. Now I can see it. Let me go up a little bit. What is this? This is just. Oh, this is I'm on the sidewalk. Let's see how this came out. Ooh, yeah, it's pretty jumpy. I'm not going to be able to use this. A little bit of it I can use. I think what I ended up doing, this is on a dolly, right? I think what I ended up doing is I actually ended up walking, holding the whole thing up, dollying camera and everything with one arm and walking. Because, yeah, I figured this would be too jittery. I mean, I'm gonna run it through some image stabilization software and see if that cleans it up. But um, I don't know. Let me go back to my screen. Andreas says I own the 17 F18 and the new 24 is close. Is too close and not an option for me. Yeah, I know it's really close, right? That's why I can probably hold off. I'd rather get the 8 to 25 than the 20 millimeter. But I might eventually swap out because I have three 25 millimeter lenses. I only need one, if any. And if I had the 20 millimeter f1.4, I wouldn't need any of those. If I trade those three in and the 17, I might be able to get a pretty good discount. Maybe pay three or four. I don't know how much the lens costs, but if I pay 300 or 400 for the lens, well, anyway, it's too close. It's too close right now for me to drop $300 or $400. If it was like $100 or $200, I'd probably do it. But I think it's going to be closer to $300, $400, $500 for me to trade in all the lenses to get that one. And at this point, 3 millimeters is not worth it. And 2/3 of a stop. And the M1 Mark III can be charged using, yes, that's true. Uh, the only downside to that is you cannot use the HDMI port out when you're running the camera via USB. It's not a problem for me because I don't output HDMI to like a Ninja Atomos recorder or external HDMI recorder. But for people that do videography and they want to run a USB cable for continuous power, they're not going to be able to use the HDMI out. And that's a problem for a lot of videographers. Yes, Anchor chargers and yes, I use the Anchor. It's recommended by Olympus. At the time, it was recommended by Olympus when the M1 Mark III came out. And that's the charger that I bought, and it's been perfect. This is funny. I interviewed an accountant once for a job. I asked him, how much is the 2 + 2? He asked me what I wanted it to be. And this reminds me of when I used to have a corporate job back when I was in my 20s. But I worked for a bank, and the vice presidents and things. I didn't work like as a teller. I was in the back office, credit policy, and the admin side of it, of banking, or the business side of banking, I should say. And they the VP would always want these kinds of reports. I was a code monkey. I would generate reports and I did coding, but he he would say, this is the gist of what I want to say. Now go find the statistics to back me up. So I would write, code and reports and slice at the data so that it presented his point of view in the best light possible. And this is kind of the same thing, right? There's 2 plus 2, but what do you want it to be, right? And that's exactly what I had to do when I worked back in the day when I was a young man. Oh, hey Roberto, how are you? Yes, all is good, and thank you for your email. Roberto emailed me just to check in, make sure I was okay. I appreciate that. Uh, those manual focus fisheye lenses distort more on it. Yes, yeah, definitely. Because the image circle, I think, actually they say this. They have a full frame version of this mount. I think it's the same lens. It's just a Leica L mount. Well, I don't remember exactly, but yeah, the idea being is the image circle from the fisheye lens is pretty big, and the micro four thirds is just cropping in a little bit of it, so we don't see all of the extra distortion that this lens is generating. Um, I think on a full frame camera, this would be a full on circular fisheye. Um, but on micro four thirds, it's not. It's just barrel distortion, really. And OM System has been pretty busy on YouTube. Yeah, I'm sure they have. I just watched that one, and they had some 2-minute videos that I kind of went through, but they were just promos, right? With all these nice glider shots and things of the gear, which a lot of stuff I watch just for the cinematography to see how they present things and see the lighting and see if I can duplicate that in my own work. But there's very little anymore online. I mean, I'm at the point now that when gear comes out, I don't care what system it is, Olympus or OM systems, Canon, Nikon, Sony. I just look at the specs and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you know, it's like none of these cameras serve my purpose as well as my Olympus does. Even the 20 millimeter f1.4, I was kind of excited about, but then I was thinking, man, that's a lot of money. And I have a 17 and a 25, and I have a zoom lens that covers 20 millimeter. Do I really need f1.4? For $800 or $900? Not really. Um, because you can't vlog with it. It's too tight. That's the only time I really need a fast lens is when I do vlogging at night, which I'm gonna try and do with this fisheye lens. But what was my point? Is I'm waiting for the WoW camera from OM Systems because it's been a long time since I've been impressed by any gear that's been released in the last since 2016. Really, uh, when I got the EM10 Mark II, best camera ever made in my opinion. When I got the EM10 Mark II, I was thoroughly impressed with that camera. I mean, from from features and image quality, everything about that camera impressed me. Without even considering the size of the camera, the sensor size, it was just really impressive. And even the Z9, it's like, what is that? A $5,000 camera? I don't know. It's expensive. It had some interesting features, right? Like no shutter. That was kind of interesting. But then, all they did was they just used the BSI sensor, not BSI, but well, it's BSI, I think, but it's stacked, right? Um, which gives it the fast refresh rate that lets it do that. So that was kind of a risky move on Nikon's part not to include a shutter. But that impressed me that they did that. So I'll give Nikon kudos for making a shutterless camera that has a flash sync speed of 1/200th of a second, minimum rolling shutter. I think they did a great job with that camera. It's pretty impressive. And the autofocus, I'm sure, is great. I'm not a sports action guy, so you know, I don't care about focusing that much. My EM10 Mark II focus is fine. My Pen F, my Pen F sucks actually. I mean, it's only a hair worse than my EM and than any other camera I own actually. It's not like way worse. It's just a hair less good at autofocus than um, any other camera I own. So, I just say it sucks, right? That would be a good thumbnail. Autofocus on Pen F sucks. I'd get a million clicks. But anyway, um, nothing impresses me anymore. So I'm waiting for the WoW camera. I mean, I really like the features in my M1 Mark III. It has made my workflow much easier with having 4 custom modes on the dial and the other features, the live ND, the handheld high-res shot mode. These are nice to haves. But the truth be told, I could shoot with my EM10 Mark II every job I've done, even video to some extent. Um, I could shoot every job I had with the EM10 Mark II because I programmed my custom functions to the mode dial. So like the scene mode was C1 and art mode was C2. So I had the functionality just like I do on the M1 Mark III. So my workflow would not change that much. And yeah, I go from 20 megapixels to 16 megapixels, but I'm downsizing these images. Everything I showed you earlier was 2 megapixels, 1920 by 1080 or whatever. Very small, two megapixel images. And no, that's way more than enough for showing online any pictures, which is all they do. They don't print these things big. They just show them online and people are looking at them on their phone. So it's more than enough. Uh, so I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, is it just me? Am I just so jaded now that I don't get impressed by gear that gets released, especially when I see the prices? I mean, I like the Fujifilm. Okay, I'll give you a couple of things that impressed me. The Z9 impressed me with the shutterless thing. I thought that was very brave, and it seems to be very good. The Fujifilm, they're large format cameras, right? The 50x2 for like $4,000. The new one, the GFX 50 Mark II, I think it just came out. That impressed me for $4,000. Even the first version, I like it. I mean, you got a relatively compact large format camera, and by large I mean bigger than 35 millimeter, right? Because it's not a full medium format sensor. A lot of people call it medium format, but that's a little bit of a stretch in my opinion. So I'm just going to say larger format, right? Because if I say large format, then you're thinking 8 by 10, right? No, larger format than 35 millimeter. Uh, I still want one. Like like if I ever come into some money, I'm gonna get me a Fujifilm GFX, but at $4,500 with the kit lens, man, I got other things I need to do with that. If I had that money, I got a lot of the things I would do with it. Okay. Oh, Rick, you got your printer free. Wow. Awesome. $0. Man, I love those kind of deals. IP8 750. I'm not familiar with that printer. Cornice says, I'm using the focus clutch and true manual focus lenses mostly for wide angle and high res. Yes. Yeah, product photography. Yeah, you want to manually focus a lot of times. Product, macro, that kind of thing. That makes a lot of sense. I got the 14 to Now the screen is not displaying all the time. Have to lift it away from the body. Oh, yeah, mine did that. My EM10 Mark II did that. I have to pull the screen a little bit away to see the live view. It's another little glitch in the camera. You and I got the same problems. The kit lens broke and the live view screen is a little flaky, right? The next thing to go, okay, I'll give you a heads up. The next thing to go on the EM10 is the eye sensor. Um, my eye sensor doesn't work anymore, so I have to manually switch from EVF to live view and back when I use the EM10 Mark II. So I stopped using that camera because it just had too many little glitches that were just, and I got EM1s and stuff and EM5s. I don't need to use the EM10 anymore. But yeah, so just heads up, that's going to be the next thing to go. And then the battery door will be last. Just so you know. I believe it was APS-C, but I could have sworn I saw a full frame mount for it. Let me look real quick. See if I can do this without busting up my live stream. TP Artisan. So if we go here, $149. EOS M, EOS R. See? EOS R. Leica L. Nikon Z. And Z can go either way, right? But they have full frame mounts for it. Leica L. So I think on a full frame, it's actually a circular fisheye. I believe it is, but I don't know unless, well, you know what I can do? Is I got my full frame right here. I can just hold the lens up to the sensor and see what happens. Hopefully I don't scratch my sensor. Let me make sure it doesn't. Let's see. All right, so if you guys can see, I got to make sure I don't jack up my camera. Almost circular, but not quite. I'm a full frame. It's like, and I can see the lens hood too. But yeah, that's what it looks like on a full frame, roughly. So the top. All right, so what it looks like is the top and the bottom is cut off on a full frame, and then it's round. But I can see the lens hood in the frame. Oh, that's because I was holding it sideways. If I do it this way, okay, if I hold it straight up, we probably won't see it. Uh-oh. Yeah. All right. That's all right. Yeah. If I put the lens on the right way, you don't see the lens hood. That's what it looks like. See, there's the square. So it'll work on a full frame. Why not? Just put the right mount on. It'll be fine. And make sure I didn't scratch anything. All right. I got insurance now, though, so if I do something stupid, I might. Of course, if I do something stupid on camera, I don't know if they still pay for it. Anyhow. Let's see. There's a bunch of things here. Oh, okay, Plato. I'll check this out. I'll definitely check this out. Um, Corner bought a grip. That's funny. Uh, Speaking of product reviews, Tony's wife is reviewing photo display screens yesterday. Her main criteria seemed to be how pretty was the box. I love Chelsea. You be nice to her. That's my girl. Well, not my girl, but my YouTube. If I see she puts a video out, I'll watch it. But their stuff doesn't come up in my stream much anymore because I haven't been watching their stuff. You know how YouTube has all these recommended things? I never see Tony and Chelsea anymore because I haven't watched their stuff in so long. And I'm sorry. And Marsha, I did see. Thank you, Marsha. Good to see you here. I know it's been a while. And Jimmy Chang made a comment on one of his recent vlogs that any camera made since 2015 was very capable technology. I assume he meant for stills since video's gotten better. Yes, video, and I agree with Jimmy. Um, I would argue you could go back to 2005 because my E500 still takes great pictures, but I couldn't do a photo job with that camera. The dynamic range and all of that is not quite there. I'd have to bracket the hell out of every shot. So yeah, but any camera from 2015, I would argue because I got my D750 in 2012, I think, and my D7100. Maybe it was I got my D7100 in 2012. That could do a photo job today, and that's almost 10 years old. That camera, and I could do any photo job with that. So you can go back 10 years, really. You don't have to you don't have to stop at 2015. You go back 10 years to a D7100. No question. No question in my mind I could do any photo job with that. That's one of my regrets in photography is I traded my I didn't trade my I broke my D7100. I dropped it. Uh but I replaced it with the D750, and that was a mistake. I should have stuck with the D7100 because I paid $2,000 for a D750. I could have got a used D7100 for like $600 at the time. That's what I should have done instead of wasting money on a full frame. But I was back then. I was into the same hype that a lot of people are drawn into. Like full frame is the bomb. The only reason, actually, the main reason I picked the D750 when I upgraded was because the 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 viewfinder, right, was much larger than on the D7100, and it was right about that time my eyes started to get a little bit weak, so I wanted a bigger viewfinder. But other than that, there's no reason to go with like a full frame camera if it's a DSLR. Now that everything's digital, it doesn't matter. They put as big a EVF as they want in there, right? Um, oh my God, Barry! When I was when I was shopping for a small camera, I put the XT10 and the EM10 right next to each other, and I didn't know anything about Micro Four Thirds, but it was overall it had the smaller lens, right, the little pancake lens, and the XT10 at the time had that honking kit lens, right, manual zoom. So I picked the EM10 over the XT10 mainly for that. I wanted more compact, right? But man, I almost bought an XT10. I was this close, but I ended up with the EM10 instead. And I'm glad I did forever. I have no regrets at all. I bought an XT30. Trust me, you don't want it. If you like your EM10, you will probably not like the XT30. Is just all I'm saying. I know I didn't. I still have it sitting there, probably 100 clicks on it, and I've had it for over a year now, maybe 2 years. Whenever it came out, that's when I bought it. Oh, Randy's here. How's it going? uh, yeah, the TTR that has the option to convert to kind of circular fisheye for full frame with the slip of a ring. Oh, okay. So it needs a ring to do it. Okay. I don't have the full frame one. I got the micro four thirds one, but if you just attach it directly, I assume you don't get that full circular. The top and bottom is cut off. Oh my gosh. Is Ed here? How you doing, Ed? I didn't see your comment, but I see somebody referencing, and Walter's here. Hey, Walter. I was hyping up the Z9 a little bit earlier. You know, that reminds me. Let me give you a link. Walter's selling. If you want to buy some Nikon stuff, oh, let me pull up the link for you guys. He's selling his Nikon F mount stuff. Uh, all right. Why am I getting text still? Let me just see. Make sure nothing's wrong. Oh, okay. It's just my security cameras. It says the ring on the is in the lens hood. You can unscrew. Oh, okay, that makes sense. If you unscrew the lens hood, then maybe that's what's causing it to be cut off at the top and bottom is this little bit of lip on the lens hood. I see. Thank you, Corna. That makes sense. This is what I was reading. Oh, Walter put the link up. Never mind. I was too slow. Yeah. So what Corna is saying is on the full frame version, apparently the lens hood unscrews, and then you get the full circular fisheye. That makes sense. Um, here's Walter's stuff. He has a D800. Let me enlarge it. So D800 with the grip for $900. A D850 with the grip for 2,100. Um, man, you only got 3,700 shutter count on that. So from the price you paid for that camera to what you're selling it for, you paid about $1 a click. Ooh, dollar a click, baby. Wow. Anyway, um, or I'm sorry, my math is wrong. If I add about 50 cents a click, yeah, so 50 cents a click there. Be about $1 a click if you don't sell the camera, but 50 cents a click if you get 2,100 back. These are the fluoride, cavity fighting lenses. Uh, this is a deal. This is a great lens for $500. Yeah, I remember that. Man, let me tell you, The first time, oh, that's right, you're adding the price of the vertical grip. But anyway, um, the first time I ever held Walter's camera was the Nikon D800 with the vertical grip on it. And I was like, wow, this is a beast. I mean, it was so big and heavy. And I think I just got my Olympus at the time. I couldn't imagine lugging that thing around. And Walter used to lug that thing around just to take like normal photo walk pictures, you know. Uh, wow. Anyhow, okay. I think I'm caught up. Might have been on our trip. No, that Walter. The time I held that camera, we were at a restaurant. I think it was Savage Mill. We were at a restaurant when you wanted to go to the restroom, so you asked me to hold your camera. So I'm holding this thing, and I'm like, my God, this is like holding a big giant baby because you probably had your 70 to 200 on it. You know, it was a beast. Oh, so Randy's not interested. So I know Randy has some Nikon stuff. I saw your picture, Randy, on Flickr with all your old camera gear or all your camera gear, old and new. And you had a little timer or clock at the bottom. I assume that was for developing film, right? Um, what the heck was that thing? No, those are my photos. Oof, just made myself hungry. I had pictures of me cooking. I cooked some butter chicken last night. Um, I'm gonna eat that for lunch today, leftover. I know. I just saw your pictures. Serge has got some great pictures too in the forest. Lake camp. I'm sorry, you guys can't see what I'm seeing. Oh, here it is. Uh, yeah. So Randy's what's this? This is your Olympus. That looks like an EM1X, and that looks like an OM1, a Nikon F4, right? This is an OM2N with the Olympus. Man, I don't even know what that lens is, but that's probably that looks like a 300 F4, but I don't know. And then down here, your Minolta auto cord, then some box camera. That's probably a 5x4. Yeah, what the heck is this timer for? Is this for like a timer for developing film? I don't know. There's your Nikon DF. I picked up a Nikon D, or picked up meaning I didn't buy it. I just held it in my hand the other day when I went to pick up my film, and I kind of changed my mind on it. I don't think I'll get a DF anymore. There's the OM1. Oh, and I have this flash, and look at this light meter. And there's an old book. There's an old Minolta there in the corner. But yeah, this is a cool shot. I like that. Oh, the 300 f 4.5. I thought so. I thought so. 300 f4 f4.5. Yep. Fabulous lens. Man, you got some nice stuff there. Um, hey, Lauren, how you doing? Lauren sent me an email with links to his recent photo walks. He's doing some street photography. Not some. That's all he does, really. There's some good shots in there, Lauren. I like that. I didn't comment any on this time. I did on your last album, but this one I just kind of skimmed through it, and there's some great shots in there. That is a GE military photo timer for what, though? For taking pictures or for developing film, or just a general timer to time whatever you want? Maybe for cooking? I don't know. Did you say it's a photo timer? And then Scott, hey Scott, says, sorry I'm late. Looks like the stream will end soon. We'll catch the replay. By the way, is there any way you can let us know ahead of time when there will be? I can't. I wish I could. The only way I know how to do it is if I start an email list and you guys subscribe to my email list and I email everybody, because the YouTube notifications only come up after the stream is started. And other than checking my channel 24/7, you don't know if I'm going to have a stream. But generally, I try to do Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the only thing I'm trying to go for consistently. On Tuesdays at 10 a.m. my time, New York City time. Oh, okay. So Randy said it's a developing timer. Yeah, that's what I thought. Man, that's a big ass clock. The one I had when I used to develop film was just a little, like, just a small thing like plastic. Can I set up a schedule? Yeah. I wish I could, but just jobs come up randomly. But like I said, I do try on Tuesdays. So just keep an eye out on Tuesday. Check first thing Tuesday morning to see if there's a stream up. That's all I can say. Oh my goodness, Fotis, how you doing? Yeah, it's been a long time for all of us. I've been offline for a couple of weeks. And then soon as I got my energy back, I've been exhausted. As soon as I got my energy back, I cranked out a couple of vlogs this weekend. And I got to fix my tank. My oil tank is anyway. There's an air leak in it somewhere, and I have to keep bleeding the line to the oil furnace. I think I found it though. It's in the oil filter. So I need to get some pipe dope and seal that thing up, I guess. I don't know. Set up a premiere for a certain date and all subs will get notified. Premiere's a little bit different. Premiere's like you have a video already published and it allows you to go into the chat section before the video starts and interact with your viewers. And then once the video starts, you can interact with your viewers in the chat section, but the video has to be already made. I don't think you can do live premieres, but maybe. I'll look. If it's a new feature or a feature I've never used before, I don't know. But if there's a premiere live stream, that would be different than premiere video, right? I'll look into it. That might be an idea. But I don't, since I'm using this third-party software, I don't know if it'll let me do premieres. I'll look into it. Right now, all I can say is Tuesday's kind of my go-to day for streams. Rick says, I just got a new Samsung phone to replace the S9, which died. Oh, your S9? I still got my S9. I don't have the Plus, but still going strong. Interesting, the A52s 5G runs Android 11 and actually great. I don't know what the A52s is. It actually gave great YouTube warnings of the live stream. Okay. A52s 5G. I don't know what that is. What is that? A52s 5G. Oh, it's just another phone. 6.5-inch screen. Wow. 64 megapixel camera. Man, that's massive. Released. Um, I think they're up to the S11 now. Android 11. I'm going to wait for the 12. This is the S9. I'm going to wait for the S12. And then I might upgrade. 4 generations. That's kind of my going rate because I had the S1, then I got the S5, then I got the S9. So maybe the S12 or S13. Maybe it's out already and I'm just, let's see, Galaxy S12. Ah, the S12 is out. Holy crap. Release date, price, full specs. Man, this is some spam site for news. Let's see. The S12 is coming out 2021. I guess this year it's. All right, what's the release date? Why do you have to scroll down 100 pages? Just have a bullet point at the type. Release date and specs and price. It will come out in the second month of 2021. So it's out already. Is it for sale? S10, A12, A12. S21. No. I don't know. All right, that's enough of that. I have no idea. Oh, hey, John, how are you? John Truman is here. Oh, you got your Randy. Randy got a drone and crashed it, probably on your maiden voyage, right? But early on after you got it. But he got the $50 replacement policy, so it just came in. That's awesome. Can't wait to see more. And yes, I'm still using OBS, but the streaming, I'm not streaming through YouTube directly. I'm streaming through Melon app to so that I can do this. I can show the messages right on the screen. Ooh. Let's see. All right. Another tutoring lesson. Okay. So Melon app allows me to do this, and that's really the only reason I'm really using it. And John says, really enjoying the pictures on the Rob Trey. Yeah, there are some great photographs there. You guys are amazing. You guys posting. I check them out time to time. I've been so busy the last couple of weeks, but I did spend some time yesterday and looked at a bunch. They're pretty awesome. Timmy said, buy an iPhone, be happy. Who's Timmy? Um, and Lauren says, Google, nothing else to say now. The funniest thing I ever heard was on the IT Crowd on Netflix. It's a British comedy. Was when Jan was in a meeting, and I think it was the episode where Moss was making a bra. But anyway, Jen was in a meeting with everybody on the top floor, and she's the IT uh, head of the department. And she said with a straight face, because she knows nothing about computers. So Moss and Roy are always feeding her misinformation about computers to tell other people. And she went up there and she said, if you type Google, when you're in Google, you will break the internet. And oh my gosh, she did such a fabulous job of, just, I was just laughing my ass off. If you type Google, when you're in Google, you will break the internet. I'm serious. Don't do it. Anyhow, uh, Colin is here. Let's see. Hi, Rob. On the OMD 10 Mark III has the same problem with the rear screen. Need to lift it away uh, from the body to view. Oh, really? I'll have to explore that thing again. See if your eye sensor, maybe the eye sensor is bad. Because that's what happened to me. Um, I don't have a working EM10 to test. I just have my halfway working one with the broken EVF and eye viewfinder and battery door, and it's all beat up. I use it for uh, you know, I still use it right on my little whatever this thing is, magic arm for recording things on my desk. So it still does video. It still works as a camera and a video camera. It's just ergonomically everything's jacked up, right? Camera is not a hammer. Okay. Rick says, I used to crash loads of drones and RC models every week. I'd won the contract to write the repairs me. No kidding. Wow. Rick has had a very fascinating life. Not has not had has a very interesting life. Um, I duck duck go instead. All right, let's do an experiment. Um, let's go to Google. Type in Google. All right, so it didn't break the internet. Go. Oh, they advertise on Google. Anyway, duck, duck, go. Oh, wow, the weather in New York. Let's see what's recent news. How to use DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo not working in Chrome. Anyway, uh, I guess we've run out of things to talk about in photography. Where's my button? Am I doing? I don't know. I'll try. I say that every week though, but I'll try and do maybe Thursday again. Um, if I don't get a job notice tomorrow night, I'll post a link up to do photo editing. But that's too late, right? You don't have time to submit your photos. That's the problem. Maybe I should post it, and then if I have to cancel, I'll cancel. If not, then I can do it. I'll have to give some thought. Uh, is the 12 to 45 Pro worth it? If you don't have it, it is. If you have a 12 to 40 f2.8, it's not worth it. The only way I would buy that lens is if it came as a kit on a camera. I don't see myself buying that lens separately for any reason. Even if I didn't have the 12 to 40 f2.8, the 12 to 45 f4 doesn't solve any problems for me, right? Because I have a prime to cover all of that. I have a 12 millimeter f2, which is what, two stops faster. I have a 17, a 25. Those are 1/8. Those are 2 1/3 stop faster. And I have the 45 1/8. So I got primes to cover everything 12 to 45. Now, as a travel lens where you don't want to be swapping lenses, right? You just want to carry one. I still think just the kit lens that comes with your camera, the 14 to 42, is good enough. I don't see a reason to buy a 12 to 45 if you have either the kit lens 14 to 42 or you have primes to kind of cover that range anyway. So to me, it's not worth it. Now, if I buy another camera and it comes as a kit at a good deal, like if the camera's like $200 more with that lens, I would absolutely get it. It's fabulous, weather sealed, nice range, fast enough at f4, very sharp, close focusing distance. I mean, it had a lot of advantages that pro lenses have, right? But as a Johnny come lately, when I got my lenses piled up over here, it's not worth it for me. I just don't have any need for it to spend $500 or $600. I'd rather buy another gimbal. I'm waiting for. I've had my gimbal for over 5 years now. It's working great, but I want to get a gimbal that's 4-axis or 5-axis, not just 3-axis. Right? I think I saw a thumbnail for that somewhere. If that gimbal is in the 500-600 range, I'm definitely buying it. If it's $1,000, it ain't happening. I'll just move slower. But if you have a 4 or 5-axis gimbal, it solves that motion problem when you're walking, and it would solve a lot of stability problems, even when you're using a gimbal, 3-axis gimbal. But a 4 or 5-axis gimbal for $600, I would do it like that. $549 right now. Okay, yeah, I wouldn't buy it, Lauren, because you have a 12 to 32 Panasonic. That's nearly as sharp as a pro lens, honestly. the 12 to 32 Panasonic, and you're at f3.5 to f5.6, so you're only losing one stop and a little bit on the long end. Just crop in, you know. If 32 isn't enough, just crop in a little bit in post. I don't see a need to buy 12 to 45 separately when you have everything else in your bag, you know. So if you guys already have the kit lens 14 to 42 and you got a couple primes on the side, doesn't that's, you know, all the better, but that's, I'm not buying a 12 to 45 Pro to replace a 14 to 42 kit lens. Now, if it's the only lens I'm ever going to buy, yeah, sure, why not? But you're like me, man. We got lenses and gear piled up to our freaking shoulders, right? That adding a 12 to 45 Pro just doesn't make any sense. 400 bucks on eBay. Yeah, it's still too much. I wouldn't do it. Now, this is a good question, right? Not a question, but this is a. Now, the 12 to 40 f2.8 is a different lens altogether. I know it's only one stop, right? From f4 to f2.8, one stop faster, but that's a big deal if you're going to be doing street photography, particularly when the sun starts to go down. One stop is a big deal. The other thing is one stop, if you're doing any kind of video work, one stop, that's a big deal. For bokeh, one stop is not that big a deal. There's a difference though. Enough that 2.8, you may want to still get it because of the depth of field, the shallower depth of field. It's not that much difference, especially at 12 millimeters. But at 40 millimeters, if we're talking f4 versus f2.8, there is a difference in the depth of field that's visible, right? So in my opinion, I would get the f2.8 if you do video and you want to upgrade your kit lens, right? There's enough of a difference there because think about it. The kit lens 14 to 42 at 42 millimeters, it's an f5.6. On the 12 to 40 Pro, it's a 2.8. I mean, that's a full two stops better than the kit lens right there. That's a huge, huge deal. And that to me is worth the upgrade. Now, $799 is I don't know what the market is now. I paid $600 for mine used, right? If I remember correctly, I paid $600 for mine a couple of years ago. Probably more than that now. And it's tack sharp, close focusing, has the function button, the focusing ring, the focusing clutch. I mean, it has everything. Doesn't come with a lens hood. You need to buy one. Or maybe because I bought mine used, it didn't come with the lens hood. I don't know. But that to me is worth upgrading to if you're going to upgrade, not the 12 to 45 Pro. Unless you don't own anything else and you want to upgrade, yeah, 12 to 45 Pro is fine. But if you're in this, in it to win it, right? Like if you're into photography for years and years and years, 12 to 45 Pro doesn't make any sense. The 12 to 40 f2.8, that is a lens that I think anybody that's been in photography for a while should get, because of the big difference between the kit lens and that lens. Okay, just my opinion though. Uh, And John follows, yeah, because it's weather sealed and it's weak. Yeah, like I said, if the 12 to 45 is cheaper, and if you need the weather sealing and you want the weather sealing and all the other benefits of the pro lenses, sharp images, close focusing, build quality, I mean, it's fine, right? But to me, the f2.8 is a no-brainer for me. It's definitely, if I didn't have it now, I would probably get it. But for almost a $300 difference, if you can get the 12 to 45 Pro, and $300 is, not working for you, then yeah, get the 12 to 45. I mean, that's the beauty of things, right? Is of Micro Four Thirds. There's such a huge lens selection that you can fit just about every need with everything they have now. So that whatever rationale I gave for not buying a 12 to 45 Pro may not mean a thing to you. You may have, like John follows. Everything I said probably doesn't mean anything to him, right? He bought the lens for the weather sealing, which I rarely consider when I buy a lens. I don't care if it's weather sealed or not. But if weather sealing was an issue, upgrading to that lens from a kit lens makes a lot of sense, right? But for me, weather sealing I never worry about weather sealing when I buy a lens. That's the least of my concern. Because as you know, my 12 to 40 Pro, I left it out in the snow and ice upside down with no lens cap, and it got filled with water and ice. Still works though. After I dried it out for about a month, I didn't touch that lens for a month and dried it out. The 12 to so you had a 12 to 40 until you replaced with the 12 to 100. The 12 to 100 is also an amazing lens because of the dual sync image stabilization. And of course, the weather sealing and pro build and all of the benefits of a pro lens, the optics, etc. But my challenge with the 12 to 100 is a little heavy as a carry-around lens. Big and heavy. I think it's 700 or 800 grams. I mean, it's not a small lens, or light. So for me, I would probably do 12 to 40 and 40 to 150 f2.8. Then I have more reach, etc. But like I said, we all have choices, and whatever rationale you have for buying the lens you have, it was probably the right decision, right? So asking me for lens advice is very biased to my needs and what I consider important. May not have any bearing on your lens buying decision. When we're talking about big bucks, $500, $1,000, $1,500, you probably don't want to ask me for lens advice because I'm very biased. I'm a kit lens guy. I haven't bought the 40 to 150 Pro lens because I'm so happy with my 14 to 150. I don't know what I would shoot with. Having an f2.8 might be nice, but I don't do enough wildlife photography to kind of warrant spending $1,500. Anyhow, oh, Valdez, that's your favorite lens too. Yeah, absolutely. I love the 14 to 150. I mean, it's not without its issues, right? It's not a pro lens, but for 99% of what I shoot when I'm on photo walks, a pro lens wouldn't really give me any better image, right? Be marginally better, because 99.999% of what I publish with my 14 to 150 goes on Instagram. So I don't think I've ever used the 14 to 150 for anything but just my personal photo walk type stuff. And then comparing it against other lenses, and it's 100% super fantastic for just that kind of thing. Photo walks, publishing on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Um, Not to say you can't get not to say you can't use it professionally. I certainly could. I just don't need to, because I bought uh I use a seven, I use the Panasonic 7-14, which isn't even a pro lens. It's a good lens, but oh, that's right. Yeah, Randy likes that big, all that heavy. I mean, look at that picture he published. Well, I already closed it, but you know, he's used to heavy gear. I got into camera photography in 2012, give or take, and back then you pretty much had to start with heavy gear. That's all there was DSLRs. I mean, I started with a Sony NEX, and I hated that thing. I still have it, but I hated it. And as soon as I got that Olympus, man, it was literally break free. I was just so happy. Yeah, and pro photography is mostly indoors. Yeah, yeah. I don't go out when it's raining. Anyway, I just don't put myself in those situations. Oh, Walter remembers. Yeah, I still have it, Walter. I sold all the lenses except I forget what it is, a 15 to 45, whatever kit lens it came with. I kept that, but I sold the other lenses I had. But Walter and I used to go on photo walks. He'd bring his big ass D800, and I'd have my Sony NEX. And I think we went to Annapolis. Uh, I mean, it was an okay camera, but I didn't like it. Not that the image quality was anything wrong with the image quality and the features, but it just didn't speak to me. And I thought I saw something here. It says I also screwed up on expensive zoom with sand and oh, that's what I have the back. I see. Yeah. So your experience with environmental issues, you lean towards weather sealed, right? And like Rick was saying, I do mostly indoor professionally, so I rarely think about weather sealing, and I don't go out in the rain, all of that. Now, Andrew makes a good point. If you're doing landscapes, that extra stop at 12 to 40 doesn't matter. But you do care about lighter weight and weather sealing. So, yeah, the 12 to 45 would be a better choice if if you want sharper images. You want to take your photography up a notch, and you're primarily landscape photographer. 12 to 45, save $300 and get that. You don't need a 2.8. So again, it just the more choices we have, the better. So this is a perfect example, along with John Follows rationale for weather sealing. This is also a very valid rationale to pick the 12 to 45 Pro over the 12 to 40 f2.8, and also as a serious upgrade to the kit lens 14 to 42. So um, because in landscape everything's so far away, you want to get the image as sharp as possible, because of all the atmospheric distortion. I mean, a lot of the sharpness kind of lost there, but the sharper lens, the better. Um, Man, see, if you just think it through, right? There's lots of reasons to get a 12 to 45 Pro, but my experience and my use case, I don't think about those things, right? I'm not a landscape guy. I don't live in Snowdonia or all those beautiful places out in the UK, I think, where Thomas Heaton and those guys, Photo Tripper, they just go out, they just tip out the back door, and they're like in this beautiful landscape. You know, I'm like, man, if I could just tip out the front door and have this beautiful mountainscape in front of me and lighthouses and what have you, I'd be out every single day with a photo walk. But anyhow, oops, sorry. Um, all right, I think I need to wrap it up. It's been a couple hours, and I need to finish my video job. I told him I would finish it by this evening. But if I can deliver it before close of business, it's all the better, right? More impressive. Uh, so once the other job goes public, I'll disclose some photos and video that I and talk about it from an academic standpoint, not about the job itself or the business, but just from an academic standpoint, photographically speaking, videography speaking, because there were some interesting challenges that I I do want to talk about, um, because it was the very first job that I used the Panasonic S5 for video work. I don't use it for the photography because the Olympus is much better for that, but for the video work, the S5 is pretty amazing. And I do want to talk about some of that, and then I'll talk about. Anyway, you guys have a great week. Um, I'm sorry about the short notices on the streams and this randomness, but I do them when I can. But either way, I appreciate you guys being here and watching, and I'll see you guys at the very least probably next week. So thanks again for coming in.